I do want to take the time to recognize a couple of gentlemen who've led us into their home, quote unquote. It's always a good thing when someone opens their doors for you. And so we would be here tonight if I didn't have the support from District 6 candidate Lawrence Williams. I'm going to pass on the mic, but before I do, a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes during campaigns, right? A lot of things are forward facing, right? You see what you see on the news, you see what you see on social media, events like this. But what I can say, I want to say this about Mr. Williams. I've gotten to know him much more during this process, not only as a candidate, but as a person. And his character has been shown throughout this entire process. Me and Lawrence have spent hours on the phone. He's invited me to and in his home. And so he's really, really been somewhat of a big brother during this whole thing. And so to have his support to me, I think it's amazing. And it shows, right? It shows that no matter what, it's important that we come together. I think we all want the same things, right? This is a better community, a safer community. We want to access the capital, right? We want to continue to uplift our children, uplift adults in our community. And Lawrence has spent years making that sacrifice. I watched him put the work in, and so he's someone that I would love to continue to work with, no matter this outcome. But he's somebody that I'm definitely grateful to have on my team and have on my side. So I'm going to put him on the spot for a little bit, but I want to introduce Lawrence Williams to the crowd. Thank you.
I wasn't expecting to say it tonight. Y'all heard me without this mic?
Yeah.
You better give him time, nigga. He can go now.
I'm gonna make it quick. Yeah. When during this campaign, when we was running, like Denzel said, a lot of people didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. Denzel would come over to the house and we would talk or whatnot. And the thing is, I used to tell my wife all the time. I said, see, a lot of people thought that me and Denzel, I might have had something against Denzel because of all that turn up, knock stuff, things like that, right? That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. I used to tell my wife all the time, I said, he's a young brother, that I believe in, who needs, like all of us, when we're young, we need guidance along the way. I said that I believe that he can do some great things, in our community, with the proper guidance. And one thing I told her, I said, I'm not gonna leave him out on that island by himself. And the thing is though, and I believe in this brother, I believe that he can make a great impact in this community, but also that if we come together and walk alongside him, can make a major, because the thing about it is, we're gonna make mistakes along the way. We're gonna make mistakes along the way. But that ain't the time to turn our back on someone or to criticize them. It's the time to hold their hand up and walk alongside them. So the thing is, when he asked me, for my support, I had no problem doing it. Also, I think that like I said, he's young. He brings the young folks. I see the excitement with the younger generation, how they, want to vote and things like that. So yeah, we know that early voting starts with Wednesday, and so we excited about it. Again, this is a great brother, and people gonna have questions. You know what I mean? And like I tell them, you want to know something, ask them. Now we was at the football game the other night once, and it got heated because someone came, well, you support him. I said, yeah, but ask him, you know what I mean? Because he don't mind, because he tell me all the time, you know, Lawrence, if they wanna know something, you know, give them my number. So again, I wanna thank y'all for coming out and I appreciate y'all, yeah, so yeah.
I appreciate it, and you know, we have Apostle Upton, who's been a tremendous supporter of Lawrence and myself, you know, being able to open the doors here. So we appreciate you, Apostle Upton, for allowing us. Okay, so before I get into the hard part, you know, I want to take some questions from the crowd too, but just kind of give everyone, you know, somewhat of a background about myself. Grew up here in East Knoxville, born and raised in Austin Homes. Went to Green Magnet School. Had to walk up 2 hills every single time going to school. But and then went to Vine. And my freshman year, I went to Austin East. And my mom sent me to my grandmother in New Jersey. Finished high school there. Went away to college. Had my son, got a 14-year-old son. And, you know, that taught me very, very early, you know, being responsible for someone else. And so, you know, I owe him who I am today, too. He played a huge role in who I am today. And so joined the military. I am a veteran. And so I've spent 4 years serving this country honorably. You know, I was having a conversation with a gentleman earlier. You know, I grew up in a structured home with my mother, being the youngest of 5. So I was already taught what service was, what public service is. And the military taught me even more what it's like to put service before self. And that's how I want to lead. You know what I mean? If anybody who has gotten the opportunity to get to know me and watch me through these last 3 years of growth, I'm a selfless person. You know, when you got a selfless heart, things can be challenging. But I'm always going to put us together. I'm always going to put the bigger picture first, because I believe we all want the same things. And that's no matter your race, that's no matter your background. You know, I really, really want us to be able to move, not just District 6, but move Knoxville forward in a way to where our kids can see that example, right? We often say, you know, these kids these days, but we're raising them, right? We're the ones who are raising them, right? We're the ones who are responsible to pour certain morals in them, right? They're watching. They do a hard time listening, right? I got a 14-year-old. They struggle with listening, but they watch what we do. They watch what we say. They watch how we react. And so I try to carry myself, you know, with good character, behind the scenes and on the front line. I believe those are the examples that we need. And so I have literature on the table. You know, it's no secret that I've spent the last few years helping this city with our violence in our community, taking that time, learning what violence prevention really is, right? I was actually doing the work in an informal way prior to Turn Up Knox. 2021, we saw a tragic year, and you know, when these shootings were happening in our community, I wanted to know why, right? And so what I would do is I would show up to the shooting scenes. You know what I mean? Whenever there was shooting in our community, I would show up consistently, to the point, you know, they started to call me the weird guy who shows up to all the shootings. But what I did in that space is I just observed, right? Just seeing what the process was, seeing families show up on scene and, you know, go through that traumatic experience of losing and seeing a loved one that they've lost. And throughout that process, I saw a void. I saw a void. I saw opportunity there, right? These are things that we weren't really truly addressing in terms of the prevention, right? The retaliation, right? These people who had loved ones, and when these things happen, you know, it's hard to tell someone not to think rationally, right? I don't think it's human nature, but you know, payback is in us, you know what I mean, when it comes to certain things. And what I saw was an opportunity for us to really wrap around these families. And through that, through conversation, through a number of community members coming together in the support of the city, you know, Turn of Knox was birthed through that. And so, you know, we took some huge strides, right? We took some huge strides in terms of curbing the violence in our community. We saw a 33% reduction the first year. Last year was a 46% reduction in non-fatal shootings. And so when any of them happen, right, it still hits home, right? Even if it's one, it affects me, right? It affects the community. And so there's a lot more work to do. I look forward to the opportunity to being able to continue to champion that work, but then also bring the different organizations that we do have that are making the sacrifice on the front lines here every day, right? Like your safe havens, right? Other organizations who work with these high-risk individuals and do it with little to no support. And so I want to be able to create a platform, create spaces where the individuals who are doing the work can come in, get that administrative, get those resources that they need to really be able to pour into these individuals. Our youth is great. I'm all about youth opportunities, but we have some adults in our community who need our help and who are struggling. And so to me, being able to pour resources and give these adults a little bit more attention and opportunity to grow. And so I look forward to the opportunity to being able to represent and lead District 6 in a way that brings us all together, right? Different ages, different races, different backgrounds. We got a lot of wisdom in the room. And so I want to be able to, you know, take all that wisdom that I can. As Lauren said, I don't shy away from accountability. Put my phone number on the literature, right? William thought I was crazy. But I want to be accessible. And I mean that. I want to be accessible no matter what the issue is, no matter how small or big you may think it is. I want to be able to answer. And if I don't know the answer, there's plenty of people in this room who I call for that. And so appreciate everybody taking their time. But I do want to take this opportunity to open up the floor. If there's any questions, any concerns that you feel like I should know about your neighborhood, something you've seen, something you've heard, I want to take this time to give you that opportunity to ask that question. And somebody else may be thinking about it too. So don't shy away. So, anybody got a question?
Yeah, I want to know your opinion about, you know, the little emblem thing over there. I was against it, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you my whole thing because, you know, we got enough play parks. You know, they can put a trade school over there. That's my opinion. And I want to know your thoughts on that. Was you with it or against it?
Excuse me, could you have him repeat that? We couldn't hear that.
Oh, my bad. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry, I love you so much. I apologize. I'm asking opinion about the emerald thing over there at Highway Park. It's a big thing about, I was against it because a baseball field, soccer field, we got plenty of that around here. You know what I'm saying? And I said it'd be better off if we build a trade school or something like that there, you know, to help our kids, or make it out of a real park like Charlie Park. 'Cause I remember us growing up as kids, we used to ride our bike out there. We used to have picnics out there when the fair wasn't there. We used to have a good time because the park was open. Instead of making it a football field and close it, how about open it up for the public? Somebody want to walk their dog? Hey, walk their dog. Put a little water park out there for the kids and make it a for real park, a Highway Park, instead of trying to make it out of something out of emerald. You know, that's all. I just want to know your opinion about that.
Now, I appreciate that question. But I was definitely against Emerald coming. I mean, from the beginning, I found out just when community members and some city council members found out. Amelia Parker, she hosted a meeting over at Chahowie Park prior to knowing that it was actually that Chahowie Midway parcel that was being sold. And so, you know, Emerald does good work. right? I know a lot of their staff, good people, come from good families. But when you talk about historic Park Place and the history that Chahowee Park has, it's undoubtedly, important that we make sure that we protect, those kind of parcels in our public park space. In terms of the possibilities there, I think that's a process that, I think it was fortunate for them to withdraw Emerald's proposal, because I've said it forces us back at the table, right? On either side, whether you was for it or against it, now we have an opportunity for us all to come back to the table and see what's best for East Knoxville, right? Whether or not Emerald is a part of that conversation will be solely up to them. But I do know there's different conversations going on in the community right now in terms of what Chahowee Park can be for all of East Knoxville, right? Not just a demographic of people, not just a certain area, not even just for East Knoxville, but for the city, right? I think it'd be a good opportunity to get different people here in Knoxville to come. And I know I go to Big Thrash, I go to Lake Shore, right? And so we need more spaces where we can socialize, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I'm definitely was opposed from the beginning. There was a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversation going on behind the scenes amongst ourselves, amongst the broader community, and to those city council members. In fact, this was the first time city council has voted against this administration. That says a lot, right? That says a lot. And so, I've been telling some of the people behind the scenes, enjoy it, right? We're 13 days from that. And so, making sure that we're still having the conversation, engaging with different community members outside of just East Knoxville and District 6, because there's gonna come a time where, it may be myself and other candidates who are gonna have to go through this process again, right? And do it the right way so we can make a decision that's not just best for our youth, but for all of Knoxville when it comes to Chahowee. So, yeah, I appreciate that question. And another point is, make sure you're a part of this process. Please make sure you're a part of this process. I think it's imperative and important that as many voices are included in this process over the next year or so. It is going to be a process, but I look forward to the opportunity being to help District 6 and East Knoxville be as transparent as possible with that. So, any other questions?
Denzel, when you say there needs to be a process where there's a lot of more community input, then obviously then the mayor was managed to have the first time around. What is that process? I thought the mayor seemed like the mayor admitted at some point that she did do a good job of having community input, but I thought she said that there would be a new sort of task force or something that would be city sponsored. How do you feel about that? Is that going to be active, or is there another kind of process that you're thinking about for community input on what happens in the park?
Okay, well, I think that's something that the community still needs to decide, right? There was conversation about a East Knoxville Advisory Council pertaining to the park. But even then, that was a top-down approach, right? Is that something that the community wants, right? Or other districts or other areas in Knoxville offering those same type of things? And so I just want us to be careful about what's offered, right? Because in a sense, they will still have control of it. They will still decide who gets to sit on this council and make those decisions. And so if it's something that the broader community wants, I'm willing to support, right? But I do think it's more conversation needs to be had before we, take on the council. And I don't even know if there's something that's still offered, because that was pending whether or not Emerald got this space, right? There was a mention of $10 million, a $10 million investment on the north side of Chahowee, right? Pending the proposal. And so now that the proposal was withdrawn, is this administration still going to commit to that $10 million over the next 5 years? These are questions that we still don't have answers for. And so I look forward to, just as I find out, the community will find out, right? It won't be weeks later. It won't be the moment I know, the community will know. that I can guarantee. And I think that saves a lot of the, back and forth and uncertainty that, community members feel like they're not being included. And there's so many ways I plan on doing it. I talked about quarterly town halls, meetings like this that we can have quarterly to give community members an opportunity to ask any questions that he or she may have. So I'm real big on that.
Okay, I wanna ask you a question. I mean, I know you're saying that you have quarterly meetings and a lot of the meetings and the going ons that happen, and when it, consists of East Knoxville, it's always the week after or the night of, and nobody's really publicly been officially aware. How do you get ahead of that game, that it ain't like East Knoxville doesn't care?
Right.
We do care about our community, and it's not as bad all the time as people wanna portray it on the news, or if it's something bad happens, we're always first one out there. We show families who you kin to, where you live at. When it happened in their area, it's a flash. You don't hear it no more. And once you remove that, it's not gonna happen overnight. Once that is removed, because a lot of things they say, you have to read in between the lines to get what they're saying. They're not coming at you correctly. They're using words that go around what they're really doing. And it's about not letting them mislead our mind and trying to make us think it's for our good, and we know it's not. I mean, how do you address that?
Well, I definitely appreciate that question. And, when we talk about getting wisdom from our elders, what you just said is exactly what I mean. It's going to take work. It's going to take work. It's going to take patience. Society changes, right? Technology has advanced, and oftentimes, we rely on social media so much, not realizing that there's a large population of community members that are disconnected from social media, right? I know young people who don't use social media, right? And so, we're missing a lot of people by just relying on one source of outreach. And so one of the things that I want to do is not only use social media platforms, I want to have sub-councils in certain areas, whether it's business development, whether it's youth engagement, whether it's housing, whatever it may be, who are out here doing the work to keep me informed as a District 6 representative. My campaign doesn't stop November 4th, right? One thing I am going to do is I'm going to continue to work, I'm going to continue to door knock and engage people, leading all the way up into where I can actually, hear from much of a broader community. While we're encouraging people to get out here and vote, some people just simply aren't, right? But I do still feel like they have a voice. These are people that I still want to engage and hear from, because we got a lot of long life residents here in East Knoxville who've given up. They've given up, and I understand it, right? I mean, when you see change in other areas and you're not seeing it in your area, when you're voting constantly year after year and you're not seeing a change, it can be depressing, right? It can definitely have an influence. And so one of the things that I will guarantee is I'm gonna continue to get out here, I'm gonna continue to door knock, and continue to be as informed as possible, so community members can know what's going on. We need more proactive meetings. We need proactive meetings. We don't need reactive meetings. And something has already come up on the agenda, or there's been a tragedy in our community, we're coming together. We need preventative and proactive meetings, and that's what I look forward to bringing. Next question.
Yes, we're gonna have to be the change. We're gonna have to help you change everything, because you can't do it all by yourself. And the neighborhoods we live in, we got to take care of our neighborhoods and stick together. And then like we have older people that can't get around You can't do anything. Back in my day, I'll say my day, we helped the older people. You know, you got to get the kids back into respecting older people. And we need this in people's households and stuff like that. And then for the schools, when they go to school, the school is not the teachers is not your kids' parents, but the active parents. It just, all this gonna have to start with the community getting together and doing the community. You can't say we, they, them, you know, we have to stick together and help you, you know, and help whoever. It's everybody lives in the neighborhood. It's everybody's right to handle what's there. You know, don't take advantage of it, and don't let people take advantage of it. And the older people shouldn't be afraid to live where they live at. The kids shouldn't be afraid to go to school, which I know it's gonna take some work, but like people that's out here that's on drugs and stuff like that, we can't put them down. We got to counsel them, let them get some help. You know, it's a brawl. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it takes all of us. It takes the community. It takes this. I don't live in District 6, but I love my community.
By one house.
I come in at one house.
By one house.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I appreciate you. That's my Aunt Esther, y'all. My aunt.
I just want to say, I administered the East Knoxville Grill on Facebook. And I encourage everyone in here to join, because I post meetings and events and what's going on in Knoxville and elsewhere. But if you send me a message that you want to join, you will keep up on what's going on in Knoxville, and particularly in East Knoxville.
What's your group's name?
Oh, my name is Brenda McClellan. Brenda McClellan. And it's the East Knoxville Grill.
Thank you.
And I have one more question about the group, Friends of East Knoxville,
Friends of Chihowie.
Chihuahua Board. Do you feel what do you think about that?
Well, Friends of Chihowie is exactly that, right? Friends of Chihowie. It's not a certain group, right? Friends of Chihowie is just a platform where we're welcoming ideas, right? Whether you're from East Knoxville, if you live in West Knoxville, right? We want your opinion. So that was just a public platform created on social media to be able to engage the broader Knoxville. So I want to be clear, right? Friends of Chihowie isn't leading, right, what's going on in Chihowie. That's just a piece of what's going on. And so that's just one of the many platforms that we look to bring forward for people to engage and voice their opinion in the process. So I encourage everybody to, join the page if you can, give your 2 cents, give your opinion, no matter how small or big it is. Send people to the page. But like I said, it's just one of many ways that we want to engage the broader community about the process. Thank you.
Denzel, the 6th district, touches all of the other districts in the city, but it's most intimately snuggled up with the 4th district. Any thoughts as to what a enlightened relationship with the 4th district would look like in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's important to have those relationships. Jeff Tallman is actually running for District 4. And so having these conversations, we've had conversations, right, throughout the campaign process. I've had conversations with other candidates to be proactive, because there's a lot of restrictions that we won't have, if we're fortunate enough to get elected. You have sunshine laws and things of that nature. But in terms of accessibility, having meetings, inviting city council counterparts to those meetings so they can be involved in the process. I think it's going to take open-minded leadership, not only within myself, but other district representatives. As you said, we touch each district. You know, I tell people all the time, I feel like District 6 is the heartbeat of this city. I really, really, truly feel that way. And, you know, I think it's gonna be important that I'm able to really use these working relationships, not to just District 6 advantage, but the advantage of all of Knoxville. And so just making sure, you know, that we have that in our mind, even with it being district voting only, right? I don't want us to have the notion that we should only worry about our district. It's important that we're having conversations as much as possible. And so I'm hoping for the opportunity to maybe even look at the charter. How can we give some leverage and some power back to city council members to where we're running the meetings? I think that's the format. I've seen it in other cities. And they're able to get a lot of things done by doing it that way. And I think the broader community's voice is included in the decision-making when we do it that way, right? The mayor having so much power and leverage, right? She gets to talk to council members individually. And so it's easy to sway, it's easy to, you know, leverage things in your direction as a mayor with that luxury. It's a luxury that as council members we won't have. What I'm hoping, you know, once I'm elected, you know, I can have that conversation with other council members to see how we can look at that charter and get that changed. So I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you.
Excuse me. To the gentleman, state your name again, please.
Jeff Tallman, I'm on the ballot for the
You are running?
4th District.
Okay. The question that you just posed, let's hear your thoughts on how you would embrace the 6th district. Please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think the handshake, as I describe it in my discussions with Denzel, is the key to unlocking a lot of the dynamism and potential of the city. I really do. We're just across the street from the historic marker across the street to recognize Cal Johnson and Speedway Circle, one of the most interesting streets in Knoxville. I'm responsible for getting that through the state to recognize that. I served on the board of the Botanical Garden and Arboretum. I love East Knoxville. East Knoxville is the key to the city, and not just the East. Keep in mind, the 6th includes the crown jewels of metropolitan Knoxville, 1 million person metropolitan area, the central business district. The 6th district is where the crown jewels are. So the opportunity to help open the door to possibilities and prosperity and partnership for all of our citizens in many ways, I think is literally the handshake between the 4th and the 6th. So, but I agree with Denzel. I mean, it's district only, but you know, I think broadly about the whole city. Everybody is somebody. Everybody owns the city. I mean, every park in the city is yours. When I was on the board of the Botanical Garden and Arboretum, I was going door to door at Walter P. This is your park. Come enjoy it. You don't have to bring a penny. Just come bring a book and sit on a bench and enjoy beauty and prosperity. So I think there's a, if we think about this correctly, I think we're on the verge of a golden age in terms of, you know, partnerships in Knoxville. I can promise you. We just
Will be true about the history.
Sure.
And embrace the history.
Yes.
Cal Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Red Summer that happened.
There's no denying
total
that. Yeah.
disembowelment of the development of the K-2235 home. Are you familiar with the Morningside area?
I am.
Did you understand that at one time that you could have a house, but upon death, you could not pass the land to your children? We have to be real about all of this. A lot of it's ugly, really ugly, but we have to address that. Nobody talks about
Here's
why we should not talk about the current genocide or what happened in the 40s with Germany. We have to adapt and deal with the realness of history, not just his story, but history as it affects us all. So keep that in mind. Thank you. I'm sorry.
And I want us to focus on the history we write together. To me,
We have to write it together.
That's what our
That's
children
real.
deserve.
That's important, or we can't, bro.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Charles just walked in late, Charles Frazier, putting him on the spot. Charles Frazier was a District 6 candidate as well, who's gotten behind me and supported me as well. So I appreciate Charles, for his wisdom and his knowledge behind the scenes. So thank you. Tanner?
That's hurting me just a little bit, walking in late. I help run a radio station. We have a concert coming up on Saturday. I help run a car facility, Encore East. I have an internet guy that, is an influencer. And I'm supporting Denzel Grant for city council and spent some time with him yesterday. So I have more jobs in the Jamaican bun. This guy right here, what happens is, when you're in the road and you're in the middle, then you can get hit from both sides. You can get hit from the right side or the left side. And this guy has never been in the middle the whole campaign. And of everybody running, and I connected well. I'm supporting Denzel Grant. I thank all the people here today. So it's some work to be done. I see an older guy that doesn't know where he is right now, Greg McKay. But everything's right. But with that said, it takes duplication. And the duplication is to get out family and friends and make sure that the vote happens. We only had 1,559 votes in the primary. There will be more votes this time because there are a lot of people gonna come out for no taxes. Now, let me show y'all where I am as a TV and radio guy. Do you really want my support, Denzel? I knew you'd want those 10 votes. Thanks, I really appreciate
it. Charles, I was also late coming in. I was at the African American Equity Restoration Task Force earlier, and we did speak about some of the ability for the city to take an active role in restoring some equity back to the community. And for me, I see restoring access to Chilhowie Park as one part of that process, so I want to thank you for that, Denzel. I also want to talk about something that happened just today. You asked for issues to be brought to the community, so this is an example, and I think it ties in with the equity restoration. I lived in East Knoxville. I've lived in East Knoxville just about 19 years now. And I took my dog for a walk. I'm the dog walking guy who goes to the parks. I've walked every park in this community just like you. I go to Lakeshore. I go to the Botanical Garden. And one hot day this summer, I took my dog for a walk. He's a German Shepherd. It was a very hot day in July, so we went in the evening. We walked from my home on Chestnut Ridge near Cherry Street. We walked all the way down to the new baseball stadium. I said, wow, this is a great facility. I'm really excited about this. It used to be Chicken City. So we kept walking. We walked down Central and we walked to World's Fair Park, which is still 6th District. And it was getting a little hot. I was a little worried about my dog. And I thought, well, maybe we could go check out some of these fountains, but I didn't want to get in trouble by letting my dog jump in the water. So I said, well, there's fountains at Market Square. So we walked to Market Square and the fountains were off. So then we walked to the downtown dog park. We got some water for my very hot dog. He enjoyed it. As we start to walk back, it's still hot. The pavement is radiating the heat from the day. My German Shepherd's very furry. And he's panting, and he just sits down in the grass down by the baseball stadium. And I said, all right, buddy, we're just a little farther. We're a little farther, and we're going to get you some water down at Caswell Park, which is the big park in my neighborhood in East Knoxville, just off Magnolia here. And we go down there. I know there's a water fountain, a big spigot actually, that I could turn it on. I could even drench him with it. And we get down there, and I say, oh, just a little further, buddy, just a little further. We get down there, and I turn it on for him. My water comes out. So I then went and I said, maybe I can get some water from the water fountain right here. No water there either. So we messaged the city, and I'm happy to share that the water is back. but they ran a brand new line and they did a good thing. But what happened today that I noticed is that spigot is gone. That used to be there. We had some raised beds for a community garden. And like I said, I could have had my dog take a drink from that. So the water line's back, the water's on, the water fountain works. I got some water for myself. But it felt like we took a step backwards. We got the water back, which is just a normal thing that parks should have, but the infrastructure was gone. And that's just one example of many at Caswell Park. So I guess what I'm bringing to you, and I know you already have thoughts on this, of relationship building, but you're just one person on council, and a lot of your role would be advocacy, to say, not only should we have amenities at parks, one, don't give our parks away. Two, we should have amenities at our public parks. And people have asked, how did you go from a public park that had all these amenities at Chilhowie to people don't even believe it's a park anymore? And what happened at Caswell with my dog is the exact same process. We had amenities, and slowly they just disappear over the years to where you even question, did we have those amenities to begin with? There was, instead of a water fountain for humans to drink, there was a misting tower that on a hot day you could press a button and it would send out a stream of mist. And that's gone. It's been replaced with this little kind of sad water fountain that you press a button and I can drink from, my dog can. So I was talking to my neighbors today. I said, gosh, we could apply for a challenge grant. We could put in a brand new water fountain with maybe a water bottle filling thing. I think it costs $5,000. But again, we just keep stepping backwards. So we have a really needy community, and I just want to have you speak a little bit about your process for advocacy. I know you showed up for Chilhowie Park. I really appreciated your voice. It won my support. And I just want you to speak a little bit about how you would go about representing a community that it feels like so much is being taken from us. And I just want to give you the opportunity to comment on that.
No, I definitely appreciate that, Tanner. And thank you for your support as well. You know what I mean? At the Stop and the Sell from Chilhowie Park, while I may have I feel like I played a small role in that, honestly. I think it was a collective effort behind the scenes. You did a lot of things behind the scenes. I mean, it was a total team effort. So I appreciate you for that. But to answer your question, to me, it's communication. You know what I mean? When we're not communicating, or, people are in certain positions who feel like they can make the decisions for us. I think that's a challenge when you have people in leadership who just decide to make the decision for us, whether it may have been a cost issue, right, whatever it was. But I think it's important for leadership to communicate with the communities that are affected by these things. You know what I mean? So we need more inclusion. I feel like there's this weird dynamic of, if it's important to you, there is a responsibility on your own, but as an elected official, I do feel like it's more on ourselves to make sure that we're communicating with community members and letting them know what's going on, and having an open mind and an open ear to address those particular issues. And so this whole process has taught me a lot. Sierra Club is here, Kent, Maggie, appreciate you guys for the support behind the scenes as well, and being able to be endorsed by the Sierra Club. It's been I've learned so much. I never thought that I would be in a position advocating for a public park or green space during this campaign. And so I appreciate Sierra Club for trusting me with that. Let's talk the elephant in the room, right? I had no experience in terms of environmental justice work prior to this campaign. But what I learned is environmental justice work is community work. That's what I learned. Both go hand in hand. And so I appreciate the Sierra Club for educating me on the importance of tree canopy, right? Turf fields, right? The disadvantages of things that may look nice, but over time can be a disservice to either our health and other things. And so to simply answer your question, communication. Cheryl Ely, she's over Parks and Rec. That's somebody I'm gonna stay on. You know what I mean? When it comes to District 6, parks that's in District 6, I wanna make sure that I'm having continued conversations, you know, maybe meeting with Parks and Recs monthly, right, on a monthly basis. Having these people come to community meetings. I know Park Ridge has an association. We have many neighborhood associations. These departments should be visiting these neighborhood associations frequently. And so making sure that, you know, utilizing my position to make these connections. If I have the phone number, we all should have the phone number. And I truly believe that. So thank you. Appreciate that question. Yeah.
Denzel, I've always been impressed with the way you say you want to build a better Knoxville and that you have the most diverse district in the entire city. Have you reached out, and if you haven't, do you intend to reach out to the prominent civic and business organizations that control a lot of, you know, voice that city council members hear all the time, you know, such as Sertoma and the Chamber of Commerce and so forth. So I'm just interested to hear what your thoughts are as far as working together with them and get some of the business community behind you as well.
Yeah, so I definitely look forward to that opportunity. One of the things is diversifying these things, right? We need, you know, a Chamber of Commerce that, you know, mirrors the makeup of our community, right? You know, in terms of business, we have a lot of people here in Knoxville, from Knoxville, has committed, you know, their time and energy to Knoxville, who have the professional skills, who have the business development skills. And so insourcing that, right? I feel like we really outsource a lot of things, right? Why are we going out of town and paying Chicago contractors and Chicago developers and all these other business ventures that aren't here local in our community when we have just as much qualified people to do those things? And so, yeah, business is how community grows, right? And so I think it's important. We got a lot of business people here in the room right now. And, you know, that's why I say it's important to, you know, when you're in a space like this, introduce yourself, right? Introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. He or she can be the difference between your business growing or making a connection to help elevate yourself, whether it's your household or your business. So I look forward to really connecting with our business community and learning from the people who already are doing the work. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we saying communication, people, the things. And I've had a situation, okay? And I've tried to get in touch with all those up there, the mayor, city code, and after they get into my conversation, it's on paper, and all of a sudden I get a dial tone. So if I'm a taxpayer and I can't get through to the people, and you keep talking about raising taxes, I wanna know what. You know, because you wanted that seat supposed to better people, not let them be or kept in a circle. And, you know, and I call back, cause you can hang up in my face, but I will show up. I don't mind stepping to play. You know, somebody needs to be made accountable. And that's the big thing here, is they're not held accountable anymore. They get a seat, they sit there, they do nothing. And if that's the case, then get up off of it, you know. Let people that are interested have that seat, and if they're not interested, we gotta keep searching. You can say vote, because everybody's on the street till they get voted in there. Then after they get voted in there, it's like, okay, you don't exist now. I'm where I wanna be. And I got my name on the door. Oh my God. Okay.
Well, I definitely agree with you. And I'm a firm believer in change, but change is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So if you know, I would be naive if I think I'm gonna get on this seat and really push for change in District 6 and it be comfortable.
Well,
don't let me be comfortable, right? You know, I challenge everybody in here. You know, if I'm fortunate enough to win, I remember October 13th, you said this, right? Hold me accountable. I'm not gonna run away from it. I know I don't know everything. I know I can't, be accessible to everybody. But send it my way. If it takes me time to get back, if I don't have the answer, like I said, there's plenty of people in this room alone who can find it, that I'm connected with. And so it's our responsibility as voters, right? That's why I tell people, once you vote on November 4th, your job isn't over, right? I have a role to play too, but as a voter and as residents, we have a role to play. And accessibility, like I said, that's going to be one of the main drivers to this election and this campaign for me, is being accessible. So, showing up to city council meetings, right? They have these workshops sometimes at, on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, right? Who's showing up today, right? So things like that need to change. Whether or not I can change it on my own, no. But what I can do is I can be present at that meeting at 11 o'clock, right? And that Wednesday at 6, I'm bringing that information back to the community. And so those are things that I want to be able to do. So keep my feet to the fire. You can call my aunt and tell on me if I'm not doing my job. She'll keep my feet to the fire for sure. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
You know, Charles is right. I have been around a while, and I've seen a pattern. A bunch of rich people get together and make a decision about what they want to do, right? It happens over and over again. You've seen it too. Then they say, hey, let's have a meeting to get public input about the decision that's already been made, right? It happens over and over and over. And Denzel, not just Denzel, has broke that pattern, I think, with Hill Highway Park.
Mm-hmm.
He's broken that pattern.
Yep.
It wasn't just him, Vivian Price, Evelyn Gill, Maggie Longmire, and all of you in the room changed it. And I hope that you changed it now and forever. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anything, Michelle?
I apologize for us being late, but we were supporting a couple of speakers at the task force meeting. So that was a good point. The Chilhowie debacle, for lack of better wording, I guess, did show that the mayor lost her ability to have this current council that has supported her on basically everything. So I know you and other council members that are going to be new. Do you have any fear going forward? Like, she's already had this little kingdom that she's had her way for all this time, regardless of whether or not it's good for the city. Do you have any fear going forward that that's going to continue, or do you think you'll be able, with this new group, to make changes that will benefit all of us instead of just a handful?
Appreciate that question. No, I'm not concerned. I'm not naive about how things have been. But as I said, part of this campaigning process has been me engaging with other candidates. So already having the proactive conversations, right? Up until we're elected, we can talk about public issues, right? I asked District 1 how they felt about this Chilhowie. I asked District 2, District 3, 4, how do you guys feel about the sale of the park? And for the most part, it was supportive, right? And so just, having these conversations with them proactively, just kind of getting a feel where their headspace is, I think is important. It's inevitable that we're gonna have disagreements. I actually had a conversation with the mayor 2 weeks ago. Shortly before the vote, after the Truman dinner, we exchanged emails, and part of that conversation was looking forward to the opportunity to working together for the next 2 years, right? A lot of this bitterness that we can have as humans, when people have trusted you to lead them and make decisions for their betterment, you have to leave all of that out the door. You know what I mean? That's how I try to carry myself. That's a notion that I believe other council members that are coming up will have. And I think this whole process has been a humbling experience for this administration. And so, believe me, they'll think twice before they try to pull another stunt like they did. And so I just look forward to the opportunity to be able to have conversation. It's not much I'm gonna let get by me. And I have enough people, I have enough support with current council members who are gonna roll over, right? Councilwoman Hesley, Parker, Lynn Fugit, Charles Thomas, me and him are really, really close. But I look forward to, you know, having these conversations and continuing these working relationships. And so I think Knoxville is in a good place moving forward. It's gonna be shaky, it's gonna be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And I look forward to having those uncomfortable and realistic conversations to move forward. So, thank you.
Mr. Denzel, I just wanted to actually say a comment as a community member and part of the Chilhowie group as well. There's even an iota of question in your mind whether this man is gonna get in office and then you're gonna sit back and just put his feet on the desk. I personally would like you to come after me because I don't see that anytime soon. This man has had no obligation to be a part of this battle or to have his word pasted, and he did not even hesitate. I know for a fact he came last night to a meeting to give some information after he'd already done probably 2 or 3 meetings that day. So this man's dedication is unpaired with our current leadership. I heard the word accountability almost every time you speak in our presence, and I have the heart to know that he's gonna deliver, and he does have the egalitarian look about us. No matter what color or what age, what you know, how much money we make, none of that matters to him. He knows we're people, we have needs, we need to be served, and he's not scared. And he also kept his temperament very well handled in spite of some of the things that were slung our way during this battle. So I think you should be very proud to vote for this gentleman, as well as make sure we grab a bunch of people with us to the polls, because we need somebody with this strength and this power and this honorability for our community to support us and continue to do the work that we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about housing, just to make it these are different subjects. As I think, housing is going to be a big issue in Knoxville. I've been reading a little bit about it. I'm certainly no expert on it, but I found out an interesting thing that Knoxville is not alone in having a housing crisis. Housing crisis happening all over the world. Many countries, many cities in our country have a housing crisis, some really severe, like the city I used to live in, San Francisco, has a serious housing crisis. But I read about one city in the world, a very desirable city to live in,